Hey, welcome back. How you doing? Let's have a chill time. Let's draw some pictures. Um, I've been struggling on this one. I've been going back and forth. Um, it's weird. I have had a difficult time, essentially, deciding whether or not I want to continue with this particular design. And that's always kind of strange because I really am super into Dan right now, and I'm having a lot of trouble like finding my voice on what exactly it is I want to do with Dan. We're gonna do our best though. And I always start with details too early, but I need a little bit of something to latch onto on this. Because I've started and scrubbed several recording sessions today, and the reason being that I just can't come to a decision of whether or not I like what I'm working on here. So the unfortunate truth is that the only way I'm going to figure out whether I like it or not is to keep working on it. And then if I decide I don't like it, I'll scrap it. I'll start over. Or I'll just abandon it altogether and work on something else. No, I don't do that on this channel. Follow these things through to their completion. I think the trick is to not really get attached to anything that I'm drawing. And that is a huge point, and I made fun of this in the last episode, but the concept of if you've drawn it once, you can draw it again. It's something that is absolutely true. It's like, this is a skill-based medium. These things don't happen by luck. You manage to put these things together because you know what you're doing. And so if you did it once, you can do it again. And so you don't need to get attached to anything. Because you can always do it again. So that is what I am trying to get myself to understand and embrace today. And you know, art for me is work. But just because it's work doesn't mean you can't have fun with it. And I think that, you know, having fun with it, enjoying it, are pretty critical. You gotta want it, and you gotta believe in it in order to do it right. And so, if you're working on something and your issue is like you're not having fun with it, you need to make a version of it that you can have fun with. That's where a lot of my style ends up coming from, is like turning something into something that I have fun with. I gotta remember that. It's important. It's easy to forget why it is that you do something, right? You know, we enter a day and age where working on creative things seems futile to some folk. So we gotta keep our heads above water, right? We gotta figure out how to make this work, no matter the circumstances. Art's always going to be important. It's important because it challenges the people who think it's not important. Looks like a thing. I hate his feet. I messed something up here. And I'm realizing, you know what I can do? Bring the knee up. I don't have a great understanding of how people running works. You can tell to look at me, I'm not a guy who runs a lot. So I think about it a lot like Sonic the Hedgehog, where I want to have... and that's not really how that goes. So I think that would be part of my problem with why I don't like the figure here, is because it's not actually gonna work. That's a shoulder. The other thing I like about this is the other thing I don't like about this is I feel like I've diminished the importance of Nisayase there, and that's not okay. This is a two protagonist anime, and we need to pay each of them a similar level of attention. But we'll get to you, Momo. We will get to you. Right now, I'm whacking at this thing with a sledgehammer right now. Some people like really fine brushes, and I think those people are cowards. I'm kidding. They have a lot more control than I do, but I like the gestural nature of these big, thick pencil tools. So it helps me think, but it does get messy. And I need to do that thing where I lightly erase over everything and then redraw it. And I do that over and over again. I'm wearing my One Piece shirt today. I got this in Japan because I'm a cool guy. I went to the One Piece store in Tokyo Station. It was a lot of fun. The guy who rang me out was dressed like Kobe, with the pink hair and everything. So I enjoyed that. I do a true One Piece episode. I guess I did that Doflamingo one. That paneling with Doflamingo. That was a One Piece episode. I do more One Piece episodes. Actually, I'm going to do a poll at some point. This was almost a poll, but then I decided not to because I wanted to do Dan to Dan. The things that I think are going to win the poll never win the poll. I've accepted that as a condition of just life. So this time I didn't do one. Next time I will. But start thinking about what you might want to see. Drop it in the comments. What do you want to see me draw? I'm happy to take requests on the channel. And of course, you can always commission me. There's a link in the description for that. No, I'm serious. You can do it. Hire me to draw art for you. I'll do just about anything. And I saw something cool the other day. An artist who was doing commissions and offering discounts on like their favorite characters, like their own favorite characters. And I'm like, oh, I might do that. Like, that's not a bad idea. Discounts if you want a commission of these specific things. So it's like, yeah, I can get behind that. Then it's fun for me. You know, it's funny, I brought this up in the last episode too. Boy, I'm gonna say that a lot. But I did bring this up in the last episode, that the reference panel that I was working from originally, they had both figures and they were showing one limb or something like that. And it's like, you might have been onto something. Alright, I feel better now. Had a rough time getting started today. It is, it's a time when it's easy to get plagued by self-doubt. You know, we, not living in the best of times here. So it's really easy to have that moment of just like, why do I even bother? Even like, because I thought I was past that. There are a lot of moments, and I try to be aware of like my emotional states and whatnot, which can be a pain, but it can also, you know, help you in your everyday life. But I was reached a point where I was like, you know what? This sucks, but I can keep going and I can keep doing this, and I'll be fine. I'm all right. And then you wake up some days and you realize that that is not going to be true 100% of the time. And you kind of just got to take it day by day. That's just something I'm used to doing. You gotta ask yourself sometimes, it's like, at what point does it get a little bit easier? And the answer is it doesn't. It just doesn't. But here are some things that I'm trying to do to stay positive right now. I'm trying to get involved with art on a more local level. I've been an internet warrior for years. And during the pandemic, that was when I launched my comic. You know, YouTube channel is a fairly recent development, but that's still another thing where it's just like, you know, I can sit in my room and make that and not have to worry about going outside and interacting with people, which is something that gives me stress. But I'm working my way past that, because it's like it's important to get involved with your local art community, and I have one. I do. I don't live in a major metropolitan area. I live in a fairly rural space. But it's still out there, and there are still people that are like in my state, in my local area, who do this. Go to these events, put on these events on a regular basis, and it's like, hey, I need to get involved in that. So I'm working with that. I just established, a pretty great relationship with a print shop that is very close to my house. And I'm getting all my printing done there now, posters wise at least, prints wise. And I recently had them, quote, doing books for me. I'd love to figure out a way to take that local. Even if it's a little bit more expensive, it's like, you know what, everything's about to be more expensive, so that's not the end of the world. And if the quality's there, and the service is there, and I was talking to this guy, it's like, I've had issues before with online printers where, something goes wrong and I can't get a hold of anybody to fix it. And it takes forever to get it done and I can't get a hold of anybody. With this, it's like I drive down the street and I can knock on the door and we're talking and we're looking at the materials, we're going over paperweights, we're looking at different stocks. It's great. So that makes me feel pretty good. Get involved more at the library, which is also close to home. There's a lot that you can do. There's a lot that I can do, at least. I hope there's a lot that you can do, too. I know that not everybody lives in the same circumstances. And I've been pretty lucky in the amenities that are available to me. And I got to start taking advantage of that and helping to bring them to others as well. There's a lot of things that you can do to have a positive impact upon yourself, upon your friends, upon your friends' friends, and upon your community at large. And we need that now more than ever. I'm trying to figure out new formatting for the show. And, last time I just had like the one big episode. And I asked for feedback. What did you think of it? And I didn't get a whole lot of feedback, but I did get some. And I appreciate it. When I ask a question and you answer it in the comments, I totally embrace that and embrace your honesty. I always used to say when I first started this channel, I used to say, please, when you make your comments, remember that I am a human being. But that remains true. Please remember that I'm a human being, because I am. But generally speaking, people are very respectful, and I always appreciate that, and constructive too. And at the point I'm beating my way around to in a very long form fashion, which is antithetical to the comment that I got, was that the episode was too long. So we're going to do what we can to tighten these up a little bit. All this stuff is a process. I'm pretty good at drawing. I'm still learning how to do videos. I'm still learning how to draw too, so it's like, damn. It's almost like learning is a lifelong endeavor that never stops. I have a young relative who I've mentioned on the channel before, who will continue to remain nameless. But they are quite the artist in their own right. And something I always try to impress upon them is like, because they come up with a lot of their own characters, and something that I've noticed recently is that they tend to only draw them like one time, and then it's like, well, I want to come up with new characters. So recently I was like, I think it would be cool if you revisited some of your old characters and drew them again, and like tracked your improvements and that sort of thing. And that's advice that I'll pass on to anybody. You got to keep art interesting for yourself, obviously, and if you're bored drawing a character, it's a pretty good sign that you should draw something different, I guess. But revisit your old stuff and find new ways to make it fun for yourself. I want more forehead. That's something that I'm trying to do in my own art a lot. I make the, I don't know, I do proportions a little bit weird sometimes. And my heads are frequently, too small. Too much jaw, not enough head. So I'm gonna make the foreheads a little bit more. And Okarun's got angry eyebrows, but they're not old people eyebrows, they're angry. So it's like we have to make sure that we're emphasizing like the veins and not making them look like wrinkles. Now, do I like that better than what I just did? Oh, that's a lot of lines. Oh, baby, that's a lot of lines. Inconclusive, which means it doesn't matter. All right, cool. Close this thing. You don't need to see that. I forget what's open on my screen sometimes. All right, we can do something about this foot. Foot feet. Getting in the habit of opening references more often. And I'm somebody who endorses, embraces, and encourages people to draw from reference whenever possible. It's never a bad idea. See, even there, yeah. I cannot understand, because there is a large group of people out there who think that drawing from reference is cheating somehow, and that's ridiculous. Artists have drawn from reference always. Like, artists have never not drawn from reference. It's cool to be able to draw from imagination. Don't get me wrong. I love drawing from imagination. I have a wonderful time drawing from imagination. But if you want to improve your imagination, and if you want to make sure that the things you're working on look somewhat correct, you gotta use references. And there are certain things, like, you're practicing, you're learning to do something new, trace stuff. Do it. Don't trace stuff and then put it in your book and tell people that you drew that yourself. I mean, I don't know. I talk about Wally Wood sometimes. Wally Wood was a cartoonist. Wally Wood said, never draw what you can copy, never copy what you can trace, and never trace what you can cut and paste. And it's like, look, originality is important. But so's workflow. And I don't know about cut and paste. And honestly, I don't even really know about trace in terms of like producing original work that you're then going to sell to people and tell them that you drew it. But like, in terms of learning the skills, in terms of figuring out how something is constructed and how something works, you can't see my reference, but I have up on my second monitor a bunch of feet, and I am copying over a foot pose that I'm looking at. When I was learning to do anatomy, I used to trace over drawings all the time, and it was very helpful in me figuring out, how to construct certain anatomical things. And now I can do stuff like this, where I can copy over a feature like this foot and not have to trace it. There's understanding of kind of how the inner workings of the body go, and I tell people a lot to study anatomy. It's the very first thing that I tell people when they tell me they want to draw comics or they want to draw cartoons. I say, you got to study anatomy. And it seems counterintuitive because in a lot of cases you're like, well, I want to draw cartoons because they're simple and they're easy, and I can draw these things without having to worry about anatomy, and that's very not true. The reason that so many of your favorites are as good as they are is because the artist has an intrinsic understanding of anatomy that they apply to their work as a cartoonist, as an animator, as a what have you. And it's like you understand what the rules, the realistic rules are, so that you know the best way to simplify and communicate them, and also the best way to break them. So it's important to know what you're doing first. And it gives you more control over your own work. Because I used to think very similarly, and I used to think to myself, like, oh, I want to do something really simple and cartoony because it's easy. It's like, nope, that's not really how it goes. Basically, any time in my art career where I've said to myself, oh, I'll just do this because it's a really nice and easy shortcut, has been false. And that's a very sweeping generalization, but it's like the very core of what we do as artists is hard work. And so if you found a way to not do hard work, you probably are doing something questionable. That being said, I want you to take as many, we'll call them good shortcuts as we can. things like drawing from reference, things like tracing for practice. When I started today, and I think this is important, when I started today, I looked at like I said, I scrapped a couple of recording sessions before I started this one, because I was being very pessimistic. When I started today, I was just looking at this, and I was not happy with it. I did not like it, and I was not happy with it. And I identified a couple of things that I didn't like about it, and one of them was that I didn't think that this foot was going to work. I didn't think that the pose was going to work. I just hated the whole thing. That's what happens when you put it in a drawer sometimes. You can take it back out and you say, wow, this sucks. I don't like it. But I decided to stick with it. And while I didn't strictly keep it, I kept the spirit of it, and I developed the spirit of it, and it has turned into something that I'm pretty happy with. Bring that knee a little bit more forward. The magic of foreshortening. All right, cool. It's all about the feet. All right, hey, I think that's gonna do it for this week. Made a lot of good progress. Yeah, I like that quite a bit. So hey, thanks for joining me today. Thanks for struggling through this with me. You know, this is kind of cool, and I think we're going somewhere good with it. We got to figure out what to do with Miss Ayase now, because I'm not satisfied with that either. But I feel a lot better because I started today very down, and like what I always do with these things, a lot of times when I finish something or when I'm working on something, especially with the videos, when I'm doing the weekly recording sessions and whatnot, I put away the thing I'm working on, and I take it back out of the drawer a week later, and I look at it with fresh eyes, and it allows me to be a little bit more critical, a little bit more constructive about how I want to put my thing together. And this time, I ended my last session being very pleased with what I had done. I started this session looking at it and going, "Oh my God, what was I even thinking? This is terrible." And I've worked myself back now to a place where I'm actually thinking, yeah, you know what? We're doing something cool with this. This is going to be really, really cool when we're done. There's more work to do, obviously, quite a bit more. But I'm very pleased with a lot of the details I've laid in. I'm very pleased with the new foot. It's all about the feet. And I'm very hopeful for the next portions of the drawing. So for next time, we're going to see more Momo, and we're going to work more on the details, and then eventually we're going to start thinking about like cool things to put in the background: aliens, monsters, yokai, what have you. Dan to Dan is an awesome show. Thanks for joining me this time. I hope you got something out of watching the video. I definitely got something out of making it for you this time. Check out all the links in the description, different ways you can support me and support the channel. Of course, like, comment, subscribe on the video and on my channel, and ring the little bell so it lets you know when I post new videos. I would really appreciate that. We're growing little by little by little here. And also, of course, if you want to leave me a tip on coffee, that's greatly appreciated. If you want to commission me for custom artwork, that is also massively appreciated. And you can do that on my coffee page as well, or you can hit me up on my professional email, which you can get through my website. And last, but of course, certainly not least, you can sign up for my free newsletter. Keep track of all my comings and goings, my comics, my live appearances, etc., etc. I will see you next time. Have a good one, and keep drawing.